Hyunwoo dragged his feet across the silver floor of the academy hallway. His backpack felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Every muscle in his body ached from the morning obstacle course. He had climbed walls, crawled through mud, and jumped over barriers for 3 hours straight. All he wanted was to collapse on his bed and sleep for a week. The Intergalactic Defense Academy was not what he expected when he signed up. Back on Earth, the recruiters made it sound exciting. They showed videos of humans working alongside aliens, exploring the galaxy and learning advanced technology. They did not mention the exhaustion. They did not mention that the academy schedule was built for aliens who only needed 4 hours of rest per day. Hyunwoo had been at the academy for 4 months now. He was one of only 12 humans among thousands of alien cadets. The hallways were filled with creatures of every shape and size. Some walked on 2 legs like him. Others floated through the air or slithered along the walls. Some had scales, some had fur, and some looked like walking crystals. It was amazing at first. Now Hyunwoo was too tired to care. His roommate Dae walked beside him looking just as exhausted. Dae was from Seoul while Hyunwoo came from Busan. They became friends quickly, bonding over their shared struggles as humans in an alien military academy. "I cannot feel my legs," Dae muttered. "That obstacle course is designed for species with 4 legs. How are we supposed to keep up?" Hyunwoo nodded. "At least we passed." "Did you see Minho?" He fell off the climbing wall twice. They turned a corner and entered the main assembly hall. Hundreds of cadets were already gathering inside. The hall was enormous, with a ceiling so high that Hyunwoo could barely see it. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing the academy crest and daily announcements. Hyunwoo found an empty spot near the back and sat down on the floor. The seats were designed for different body types, but the floor worked fine for him. Dae sat beside him with a groan. "Why do they call these assemblies so often?" Dae complained. "I have a xenobiology exam tomorrow. I need to study." "Maybe it is just another safety briefing," Hyunwoo said hopefully. "Those only take 10 minutes. He closed his eyes for a moment. The hall was warm and dark. The soft hum of alien conversations around him was almost peaceful. He felt himself starting to drift off to sleep. Then the lights dimmed completely. A spotlight appeared at the front of the hall. Commander Velthar stepped into the light. Commander Velthar was a Crescian, a species that looked like giant insects walking on 2 legs. He had 4 arms, each ending in sharp claws. His exoskeleton was dark blue and covered in scars from old battles. 2 large eyes dominated his face, glowing with an orange light. When he spoke, his voice echoed through the hall like thunder. "Attention all cadets," Velthar began. His mandibles clicked with each word. "Today I announce the beginning of your 2nd semester trials. You have completed basic training. You have learned combat techniques. You have studied military strategy. Now you will face the true test of a soldier." The holographic displays changed. They showed a massive metal chamber with thick walls and a heavy door. The image rotated slowly, showing every angle of the structure. It looked like a prison cell designed for the worst criminals in the galaxy. "This is the torture resistance chamber," Velthar continued. "Every soldier in the Galactic Defense Force must complete this trial before graduation. It tests your ability to withstand enemy interrogation. It measures your mental strength. It reveals whether you have what it takes to protect your people under the worst conditions." A murmur ran through the assembled cadets. Hyunwoo opened his eyes fully now, staring at the image. Something about the commander's tone made his stomach twist with worry. "The chamber uses advanced technology to create the most difficult psychological experience possible," Velthar explained. "It will attack your mind with fear. It will stress your body with environmental extremes. It will find your weaknesses and exploit them. Many cadets fail this trial on their first attempt. Some require multiple tries before they succeed." More images appeared on the displays. They showed statistics and records. Hyunwoo tried to read them, but they were written in the common galactic script that he still struggled with. Velthar's voice grew harder. "The current academy record is 4 hours and 17 minutes, held by Cadet Shin I of the Vrin species. The average survival time is 47 minutes. To pass this trial, you must endure at least 1 hour inside the chamber. Anything less is considered a failure." 1 hour, Hyunwoo thought. That does not sound too bad. He had survived boring lectures that lasted longer than 1 hour. "Let me be clear," Velthar said, raising one of his clawed hands. "This is not a simple endurance test. The chamber is designed by military experts from 200 different species. It combines physical torture, mental manipulation, and sensory warfare. Cadets have emerged from the chamber screaming. Some cannot speak for days afterward. Medical staff will be present for every attempt because psychological damage is common. The hall fell completely silent. Hyunwoo felt Dae tense beside him. Around them, other cadets shifted nervously. A large reptilian cadet named Kreth, who usually bragged about his warrior culture, looked pale. Even the floating jellyfish-like aliens in the upper sections of the hall seemed to dim their natural glow. The trials begin tomorrow at dawn, Velthar announced. Each of you will be assigned a time slot. You will receive your schedule within the hour. Use tonight to prepare yourselves mentally. Meditate. Pray to whatever gods your species worships. Sleep if you can. You will need every advantage. The commander paused, his orange eyes scanning the crowd. For a moment, Hyunwoo felt like those eyes stopped on him specifically. I know some of you are afraid, Velthar said quietly. That is natural. Fear is a survival instinct. But remember this. Every officer in the Galactic Defense Force has completed this trial. Your instructors have all endured the chamber. Some of us multiple times. If we can survive it, so can you. Dismissed. The lights came back on. Cadets began standing and filing out of the hall. The noise level rose as everyone started talking at once. Hyunwoo heard fear in many voices. Some cadets were already planning study sessions to prepare. Others talked about mental exercises their species used to resist interrogation. Hyunwoo stood slowly, his tired legs protesting. He picked up his backpack and followed the crowd toward the exit. 1 hour, Dae said beside him. We just have to last 1 hour.
How bad can it be?
Hyunwoo did not answer. He was thinking about his xenobiology exam tomorrow. He still had not studied the chapter on silicon-based life forms. And now he had to worry about this torture chamber trial too. When was he supposed to sleep? They walked back to their dormitory in silence. The hallways were crowded with worried cadets. Some were already accessing the academy database, trying to find information about the chamber. Others gathered in small groups, sharing what they knew. Hyunwoo heard a crystalline cadet telling others about Shin'e's record. She meditated for 3 months before her attempt. She trained her mind to enter a state of complete calm. That is how she lasted 4 hours. 4 hours of meditation just to prepare, Hyunwoo thought. He barely had time to eat meals, let alone meditate. When they reached their room, Hyunwoo dropped his backpack and collapsed onto his bed. The mattress was too firm for human comfort, but he was too tired to care. Dae sat at his desk, already pulling up study materials on his tablet. Are you going to prepare? Dae asked. Hyunwoo closed his eyes. I will worry about it tomorrow. Right now I just need sleep. The trial starts tomorrow, Dae reminded him. Then I definitely need sleep, Hyunwoo mumbled. Within minutes he was unconscious, his body finally getting the rest it desperately needed. He did not dream of torture chambers or psychological trials. He dreamed of home, of his bed in Busan, and of sleeping for days without interruption. The alarm blasted through the dormitory at dawn. Hyunwoo jerked awake, his heart pounding. For a moment he forgot where he was. Then reality crashed back. The academy, the torture chamber, the trial. He looked at his schedule on the tablet. His trial was scheduled for 2 in the afternoon. That gave him 8 hours to prepare. 8 hours to figure out how to survive 1 hour of psychological torture. Dae was already awake, sitting cross-legged on his bed with his eyes closed. He was trying to meditate like the instructors suggested. Hyunwoo watched him for a moment, then decided to take a shower instead. Hot water might help him think clearly. The dormitory showers were communal, designed to accommodate multiple species at once. Hyunwoo found an empty stall that had human-compatible water temperature controls. He stood under the hot water and tried not to think about the chamber. It did not work. His mind kept returning to Commander Velthar's words. Psychological damage is common. After the shower, Hyunwoo went to the cafeteria. The academy served food for hundreds of different species, which meant finding something humans could actually eat was always a challenge. He grabbed a protein bar that tasted like cardboard and a cup of something that was supposedly similar to coffee. It was not, but it had caffeine. The cafeteria was buzzing with nervous energy. Everywhere Hyunwoo looked, cadets were talking about the chamber. A group of insectoid aliens near the window were practicing breathing exercises. A trio of furry mammals that looked like giant otters were reviewing mental defense techniques on their tablets. Hyun-woo found Minho sitting alone at a corner table. Minho was another human cadet, originally from Incheon. He looked like he had not slept at all. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. "Did you sleep?" Hyun-woo asked, sitting down. Minho shook his head. "I kept thinking about the chamber. I looked up old records from previous years. Hyun-woo, some cadets never recover. There was a Draxian cadet 3 years ago who dropped out completely after his attempt. He could not handle it. That does not help," Hyun-woo said, biting into his protein bar. "I know. I am sorry. I am just scared." Minho rubbed his face. "My trial is this morning. In 2 hours. I volunteered to go early because I wanted to get it over with." Hyun-woo understood that feeling. Sometimes waiting was worse than the actual event. "You will be fine. Just focus and stay calm." "Easy to say," Minho muttered. They finished breakfast in silence. Other human cadets joined them gradually. There were 12 humans total at the academy. Today, all of them looked worried. Even Ji-won, who usually smiled at everything, looked tense. "Has anyone found useful information about what the chamber actually does?" Ji-won asked. A cadet named Sung-ho pulled up his tablet. "I found some descriptions. It uses holographic technology to create realistic illusions. It manipulates temperature, gravity, sound, and light. It releases chemicals into the air that affect your emotions. Basically, it attacks you from every direction at once." "Can we train for that?" someone asked. "Some species can," Sung-ho said. "The Vrin have natural mental shields. The Crescians have experienced battle and real torture, so the simulations do not affect them as much. But humans? We have no natural defenses. Our psychology is actually considered quite vulnerable." That was not encouraging news. Hyun-woo finished his terrible coffee and stood up. "I am going to the library. I still have that xenobiology exam to study for." Day looked at him like he was crazy. "You are thinking about exams right now?" "The exam is tomorrow. The trial is today. I can only control one of those things." Hyun-woo picked up his backpack. "Besides, studying will keep my mind occupied. Better than sitting around worrying." He left the cafeteria and headed to the library. The academy library was impressive, filled with knowledge from across the galaxy. Books, data crystals, holographic archives, and even organic memory storage used by plant-based species. Hyun-woo found a quiet corner and opened his xenobiology textbook. He tried to focus on silicon-based life forms, but his mind kept wandering. What would the chamber show him? What were his deepest fears? He thought about his family back on Earth. He thought about failing out of the academy. He thought about disappointing everyone who believed in him. An hour passed. Then another. Hyun-woo managed to read 3 chapters, though he barely remembered any of it. His tablet buzzed with a message. It was from Dae. Minho just finished his trial. He lasted 31 minutes. They took him to medical. He was crying. Hyun-woo stared at the message. 31 minutes. Minho was tough. He had survived the brutal physical training without complaining. If he only lasted 31 minutes and needed medical attention afterward, what chance did Hyun-woo have? He put away his books and left the library. The trials were being held in the academy's testing facility, a separate building connected by an enclosed walkway. Hyun-woo walked slowly, watching other cadets rush past him in both directions. The testing facility lobby was crowded. Cadets waited nervously for their assigned times. Medical staff in white uniforms stood ready with equipment. Instructors monitored everything from a central control station visible through transparent walls. Hyun-woo saw Kreth, the large reptilian warrior, pacing back and forth. Kreth was always confident, always talking about his species' proud military tradition. Right now he looked anything but confident. "Cadet Kreth," an instructor called. "You are next." Kreth stopped pacing. He straightened his back, trying to look brave. His scales had gone pale, though. Hyun-woo watched as Kreth walked through a doorway toward the chamber. The door closed behind him. A large screen in the lobby showed basic information about the current trial. It displayed the cadet's name, species, and elapsed time. No video of what was actually happening inside, but everyone could see the timer counting upward. 5 minutes passed, then 10. The lobby fell quiet as everyone watched the timer. 15 minutes, 20, 30. At 45 minutes, the timer stopped. The door opened and medical staff rushed through. Moments later, they emerged, supporting Kreth between them. The big reptilian warrior was shaking violently. His eyes were unfocused. He was muttering something in his native language, the same phrase over and over. They took him past the crowd toward the medical wing. Hyunwoo heard what he was saying. Falling. Always falling. No ground, no sky. Just falling forever. The lobby erupted in whispers. 45 minutes had broken Kreth, one of the strongest cadets in their class. What hope did anyone else have? More trials followed through the morning. Hyunwoo watched the times on the screen. 38 minutes. 52 minutes. 21 minutes. 1 hour and 4 minutes. The results varied wildly, but one thing was consistent. Every single cadet emerged looking traumatized. An alien cadet named Yuna was called next. Yuna belonged to a species called the Mindari. They were telepathic, able to sense emotions and thoughts. They looked almost human, but their skin had a faint blue glow and their eyes were entirely silver. Yuna walked confidently toward the chamber, her telepathic abilities supposedly giving her an advantage. 18 minutes later, she came out screaming. Her hands clawed at her head as if trying to remove something inside her skull. Medical staff had to physically restrain her to administer sedation. The Mindari instructor, Dr. Yoon, rushed to her side with a grave expression. Telepathic overload, someone whispered nearby. The chamber must have created mental noise that shattered her shields. Hyunwoo checked the time. It was 1 in the afternoon, 1 hour until his trial. His stomach churned. He had not eaten lunch. The thought of food made him feel sick. Dae appeared beside him, looking pale. My trial was 40 minutes ago. I lasted 52 minutes. Are you okay? Hyunwoo asked. Dae sat down heavily in a nearby chair. No, it was horrible. The chamber knew things about me. Personal things. It showed me my worst memories and made them worse. It showed me futures where I failed everyone I cared about. The temperature kept changing. Too hot, then freezing cold. The gravity shifted randomly. I could not tell which way was up. The sounds, he trailed off, shaking his head. Just prepare yourself. It is worse than anything they told us. That is not helping, Hyunwoo said quietly. I know. I am sorry. I do not want you to go in there unprepared like I was. Dae looked at him seriously. Hyunwoo, you can withdraw. You can take the trial next semester. Give yourself more time to prepare. Hyunwoo considered it. He could withdraw. Come back when he was ready. But when would he be ready? Next semester he would be just as tired, just as worried. Delaying would not make it easier. No, he said. I will do it today. I just want it finished. The screen showed another trial ending. 1 hour and 11 minutes. A new record for the day, though still far from Shin'e's 4 hours. The cadet emerged on shaking legs, supported by medical staff but conscious. Cadet Hyunwoo Kim, a voice called over the intercom. Please report to pretrial briefing room 3. This was it. Hyunwoo stood up. His legs felt weak. Dae gripped his shoulder briefly in support, then let go. Hyunwoo walked toward the briefing room, aware of dozens of eyes watching him. The human who was about to face the torture chamber. In the briefing room, a medical officer checked his vital signs. Blood pressure, heart rate, neural activity. Everything was recorded for monitoring during the trial. Commander Velthar entered the room, his forearms folded across his chest. Cadet Kim. In the monitoring station outside the chamber, Commander Velthar watched the screens carefully. Multiple displays showed Hyunwoo's vital signs, neural activity, and stress indicators. Other instructors gathered around, curious to see how the human would perform. His heart rate is elevated but not critical, observed Instructor June, a mantis-like alien with compound eyes. Normal pre-trial anxiety. Begin standard protocol, Velthar ordered. Inside the chamber, Hyunwoo stood in complete darkness. He could not see his own hands in front of his face. The silence was absolute, pressing against his ears like pressure underwater. He took a step forward and immediately felt the floor tilt beneath him. He stumbled, catching himself. The floor was not tilting. That was an illusion. He knew that logically, but his inner ear disagreed. His sense of balance told him the room was spinning even though his eyes saw nothing. Then the lights came on. Not gradually, but all at once, blindingly bright. Hyunwoo squeezed his eyes shut, but the light seemed to penetrate his eyelids. Colors flashed in rapid sequence. Red, blue, green, white, patterns designed to trigger discomfort in most species' visual systems. The temperature dropped suddenly. Hyunwoo felt the cold wash over him like jumping into ice water. His breath came out in visible puffs. He wrapped his arms around himself, shivering. This was worse than winter in Busan. This was Arctic cold. Sounds started. First a low hum that he felt in his chest more than heard, then high-pitched squeals that made his teeth ache, voices speaking in languages he did not understand, all talking at once, growing louder and louder until they seemed to come from inside his own head. 5 minutes, June announced in the monitoring station. Subject showing expected stress response. Hyunwoo tried to focus. This was all simulation. It was not real. The cold was not real. The voices were not real. But his body did not care about logic. His body was cold and disoriented, and his head was starting to hurt. The holographic projections began. Shapes formed in the air around him. At first they were abstract, geometric patterns that hurt to look at. Then they became more specific. He saw his family's home in Busan. He saw his mother's face, disappointed and sad. He saw himself failing, falling, drowning in deep water. These were his fears, pulled from his psychological profile and made real. The chamber had studied him, learned about him, and now it was using that knowledge as a weapon. Subject neural activity increasing, reported a medical technician. Still within safe parameters. The gravity shifted. Suddenly, Hyunwoo felt like he weighed twice as much. His knees buckled and he fell to the floor. The impact hurt more than it should have. Then the gravity reversed and he felt weightless, his stomach lurching as if he was falling. He closed his eyes against the sensory assault. That was a mistake. With his eyes closed, the disorientation was worse. He felt like he was tumbling through space. His brain could not figure out which way was up. 10 minutes, June said. He is doing better than expected. Hyunwoo opened his eyes again. The holograms had changed. Now they showed his deepest insecurities. He saw himself at the academy, surrounded by stronger, faster, better aliens. He saw himself failing the trials. He saw himself sent back to Earth in disgrace. The voices grew louder, more insistent. They whispered his failures. They listed his weaknesses. They told him he did not belong here, that humans were too weak, too fragile, too primitive for the Galactic Defense Force. Part of him knew this was manipulation. But another part, the tired, exhausted part of his brain, started to believe it. The temperature spiked upward, from freezing cold to unbearable heat in seconds. Hyunwoo gasped, sweat immediately beading on his forehead. It felt like standing next to a furnace. His throat dried out. His skin felt like it was burning. 15 minutes, June announced. Humans have surprisingly high tolerance to environmental stress. In the lobby outside, more cadets had gathered to watch the timer. Word had spread that a human was in the chamber. Humans were considered one of the weaker species at the academy. Many aliens were curious to see how long he would last. Shin'e, the crystalline cadet who held the current record, stood near the front of the crowd. Her body refracted light in beautiful patterns, but her expression was serious. She had trained for months before her attempt. This human had done nothing special to prepare as far as she knew. 20 minutes, someone said. He is doing well. The real test comes later, Shin'e replied. The chamber escalates. It learns what affects you and focuses on that. The first 20 minutes are just the introduction. Inside, Hyunwoo was starting to understand what she meant. The chamber had been testing him, watching his reactions. Now it knew what bothered him most. The holograms focused on isolation and failure. The sounds became specifically tuned to human hearing, frequencies that created maximum discomfort. New fears appeared. He saw Earth burning. He saw his friends dying because he was not strong enough to protect them. He saw a future where humanity was excluded from the galactic community because people like him proved they were not ready. 25 minutes, June said. His mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Instructor Velthar, his stress indicators are decreasing? Velthar leaned closer to the monitors. Confirmed. His heart rate is dropping. Neural activity is shifting to different patterns. Is he entering shock? A medical officer asked with concern. Monitor closely, Velthar ordered. Prepare for emergency extraction if needed. But Hyunwoo was not in shock. He was exhausted. The combination of sensory overload, temperature stress, and gravitational manipulation was overwhelming his ability to process it all. His brain, already tired from weeks of inadequate sleep, was starting to shut down non-essential functions. The holograms continued their assault, but Hyunwoo's eyes were growing heavy. The voices that had seemed so loud were fading into background noise. The temperature that had felt extreme was just temperature. He had worked in the summer heat in Busan. He had experienced cold winters. This was uncomfortable, but his body was adapting. Or more accurately, his body was too tired to care anymore. 30 minutes, June said. He has passed the minimum requirement. In the lobby, a murmur ran through the crowd. The human had passed. Dae felt a wave of relief. At least Hyunwoo would not have to repeat the trial next semester. 35 minutes. Hyunwoo found a corner of the chamber and sat down. The floor was hard and cold, then hot, then cold again. He barely noticed. He leaned against the wall, which felt strange under his hands, like it was vibrating. The hologram swirled around him, showing terrible things. His eyelids drooped. 40 minutes. His neural patterns are entering delta wave activity. The medical technician reported with confusion. That is deep sleep state for humans. Impossible, Veltar said. Not under these conditions. Check the readings. Readings are accurate, sir. His brain activity suggests he is approaching sleep. Veltar stared at the monitors. A human falling asleep in the torture chamber? That made no sense, unless he thought about human biology. They were from Earth, classified as a death world by galactic standards. Their planet had extreme temperature variations, dangerous weather, and predators that hunted them for millions of years. Perhaps what the chamber considered torture, a human considered just another uncomfortable day. 45 minutes. He has matched Cadet Kreth's time. Hyunwoo's head nodded forward. He jerked it back up, trying to stay awake. But he was so tired. The obstacle course this morning. The weeks of inadequate sleep. The stress of the trial. It all crashed down on him at once. The chamber was dark when the lights were not flashing. It was isolated and quiet when the sounds paused between cycles. The temperature extremes were actually less variable than Earth's natural climate zones, and most importantly, no one was here to bother him. No alarms, no training schedules, no other cadets snoring in the bunk above him. 50 minutes, his eyes closed. The holograms continued their display, but Hyunwoo was not really seeing them anymore. They became part of his dreams, abstract and meaningless. The voices faded into white noise. His body, pushed beyond its limits, did what it was evolutionarily designed to do. It prioritized survival through rest. 1 hour, June announced. The lobby erupted in surprised conversation. The human had completed the minimum requirement and was still going. Shin'e leaned forward, interested now. Her record was 4 hours and 17 minutes, but very few cadets even made it past 1 hour. 1 hour, 15 minutes. Should we extract him? A medical officer asked Veltar. His vitals are stable, but his consciousness level is concerning. No, Veltar said slowly. He is not in distress. His body is handling the stress. Let it continue. In the chamber, Hyunwoo shifted position, trying to get comfortable on the hard floor. He pulled his jacket off and wadded it up as a makeshift pillow. The temperature cycled from hot to cold, but his body temperature was regulating naturally. The gravity shifts were gentler now, or perhaps he had just stopped noticing them. 1 hour, 30 minutes. He curled up on his side, knees pulled up slightly. The floor was uncomfortable, but he had slept in worse places. During military exercises on Earth, he had slept on rocks, in mud, in the rain. This was a controlled environment. Climate-controlled, in fact, even if the control was chaotic. 2 hours. Hyunwoo began to snore softly. 5 hours. Commander Veltar had not moved from his position in the monitoring station for the last 3 hours. His forearms were crossed as he stared at the displays showing Cadet Hyunwoo Kim's vital signs. Around him, instructors from every department had gathered. The news had spread throughout the entire academy. A human was not just surviving the torture chamber. He was sleeping in it. His REM cycles are regular, the medical technician reported, still sounding baffled. He is getting quality sleep. Better than he has gotten in weeks, according to his dormitory logs. Instructor June manipulated one of the holographic controls. I am increasing the chamber intensity beyond standard parameters. With your permission, Commander. Veltar considered this. The chamber was already operating at full capacity for a standard trial. Increasing it further risked actual injury. But they needed to understand what was happening. If humans had some unknown ability to resist advanced interrogation techniques, the Galactic Defense Force needed to know about it. Approved, Veltar said, but monitor carefully. At the first sign of distress, we extract him immediately. June input the new parameters. Inside the chamber, the conditions escalated to levels that would incapacitate most species within minutes. The temperature began cycling even more drastically. from freezing to burning every 30 seconds. The gravitational stress increased, creating pressure that should compress internal organs. The holographic projections became more vivid, more personal, more horrifying. The sound frequencies shifted into ranges that could liquefy tissue in some species. 5 hours, 15 minutes. Hyunwoo stirred in his sleep. His face scrunched up briefly like he was having a mildly unpleasant dream. Then he relaxed again, rolling onto his side. His breathing remained steady. "This is impossible," an instructor from the Vrin species said. Her crystalline body chimed softly with agitation. "I trained for 3 months to achieve mental clarity for my attempt. I meditated 6 hours daily. How is this human resisting with no preparation? Maybe humans have natural mental shields we do not know about," another instructor suggested. Velthar thought about what he knew of humans. They came from Earth, a planet with harsh weather, dangerous predators, and geological instability. They had evolved without natural weapons or armor. Their survival strategy was persistence and adaptability. They could eat almost anything. They could survive in almost any climate. They could keep going when other species would collapse from exhaustion. 5 hours, 30 minutes. In the lobby outside, the crowd had grown to over 200 cadets. The displays showed the timer counting upward, each minute another piece of Academy history. Some cadets were placing bets on how long the human would last. Others recorded everything on their personal devices, knowing this would become a legendary story. Day stood near the front, torn between pride in his roommate and concern. "He is going to be insufferable when he wakes up," Day muttered to Jiwon beside him. "He will never let me forget that he slept through the torture chamber." Jiwon laughed nervously. "If he wakes up, what if something is wrong? What if his mind broke and this is just his body shutting down?" "His vital signs are perfect," Day said, having heard the reports from Academy staff moving through the crowd. "Better than perfect. He is healthier asleep in the chamber than he has been awake at the Academy." That statement made Jiwon pause. "You know, we have all been exhausted since we arrived. The Academy schedule does not give humans enough sleep time. We are always tired." 6 hours. Back in the monitoring station, the Academy Commandant arrived. Commandant Reth was a massive being from a heavy gravity world, built like a boulder with 6 legs and skin like stone. He rarely left his office. His presence indicated how significant this event had become. "Explain." Reth rumbled, his voice like grinding rocks. Velthar provided a summary. Cadet Kim entered the chamber 6 hours ago. Within the first hour, his stress responses decreased to baseline. By the second hour, he had entered sleep state. He has remained asleep since, despite escalating chamber protocols. His body shows no sign of distress. In fact, according to medical analysis, he is recovering from chronic sleep deprivation. Sleep deprivation? Yes, sir. Humans require 7 to 9 hours of sleep per 24-hour cycle. The Academy operates on a 32-hour cycle with 6 hours of rest period. The human cadets have been operating at significant sleep deficit since enrollment. Commandant Reth turned his massive head toward the displays. "So the torture chamber is allowing him to catch up on missed sleep?" "That appears to be the situation, sir." Reth was silent for a long moment. "Continue monitoring. I want a full report on human physiology after this. If we have been inadvertently torturing an entire species with our standard schedule, that is unacceptable." 6 hours, 30 minutes. The chamber continued its assault. The holograms showed increasingly disturbing scenarios. Hyunwoo's psychological profile had been thoroughly analyzed by the chamber's AI. It knew his fears, his traumas, his insecurities. It projected all of them in vivid detail. Hyunwoo dreamed about being chased. In his dream, he was running through the streets of Busan, something behind him. He could not see what it was, but he knew he had to keep running. This was a common anxiety dream, one he had experienced many times during stressful periods. His sleeping mind processed it as just another normal dream and continued cycling through REM sleep stages. 7 hours. Dr. Yoon, the Academy's chief psychologist, arrived at the monitoring station. The ethereal floating alien examined the data with intense interest. Fascinating. The chamber is attacking him with stimuli that should trigger panic responses in most species. But humans evolved on a world where constant threat was normal. Their baseline anxiety level is higher than most species, which means artificial anxiety is less effective. "Are you saying humans are naturally anxious?" June asked. "I'm saying humans are naturally alert to danger because their planet was full of danger. What we consider psychological torture, they consider Tuesday. Dr. Yoon gestured at the displays. Look at the temperature cycles. Extreme to us. But Earth has climate zones ranging from Arctic to desert. Humans adapted to live in all of them. This human is from Busan, which has cold winters and hot summers. His body knows how to handle temperature variation. 7 hours, 30 minutes. What about the gravitational stress? An instructor asked. Earth is a medium gravity world, Dr. Yoon explained. Not heavy like some, but not light. Humans evolved to walk upright on uneven terrain, to climb, to run long distances. Their inner ear and proprioception are extremely adaptable. The gravitational shifts are disorienting, yes, but not debilitating. Velthar was beginning to understand. The chamber was designed by compiling the worst interrogation techniques from 200 different species. But it was designed by species from relatively stable, safe worlds. Humans evolved on a death world. Their normal environment was harsher than our torture chamber. 8 hours. The timer continued its steady climb. Hyunwoo had now been in the chamber longer than any cadet in the Academy's history. Twice as long as the previous record. And he was still sleeping peacefully. Shin-ae, watching from the lobby, felt a strange mix of emotions. Her record had stood for 2 years. She had been proud of it. Now it was shattered by a human who was napping. Part of her was frustrated, but another part was impressed. She had achieved her 4 hours through intense mental discipline. This human had exceeded it through simply being exhausted. Should we extract him? The medical technician asked. This has gone far beyond any trial duration we have data for. Commandant Reth considered. Is he in any danger? No, sir. All vitals are excellent. If anything, he is in better health now than when he entered. Then we continue. I want to see how long a human can actually endure. 8 hours, 30 minutes. The chamber's AI was becoming confused by its occupant. It had exhausted its database of psychological attacks. It had cycled through every fear, every trauma, every weakness in Cadet Kim's profile. Nothing was working. The occupant's stress levels remained minimal. The AI did what it was programmed to do and increased intensity further, but it was reaching its operational limits. Hyunwoo shifted in his sleep, trying to find a more comfortable position on the hard floor. He was having a dream about the xenobiology exam. In the dream, he could not remember any of the answers. He woke up briefly, confused about where he was. The chamber was dark between light cycles. For a moment, he thought he was in his dormitory. Then he remembered. The trial. The torture chamber. He checked his internal sense of time. How long had he been here? It felt like he had just closed his eyes for a moment, but he felt more rested than he had in weeks. His body wanted more sleep, though. The weeks of sleep debt were not fully paid off yet. Hyunwoo yawned, adjusted his jacket pillow, and closed his eyes again. Within minutes, he was back asleep. In the monitoring station, every instructor watched this sequence on the displays in silence. He woke up, June said quietly. He knew where he was, and he chose to go back to sleep. The human is using the torture chamber as a nap room, Dr. Yoon said, and despite the serious situation, there was amusement in the psychologist's voice. This will go down in Academy history. 9 hours. Velthar made a decision. Hyunwoo stared at Commander Velthar, certain he had misheard. 9 hours? That cannot be right. I just closed my eyes for a minute. 9 hours, Velthar repeated. His mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. You entered the chamber at 1400 hours. It is now 2300 hours. You have been asleep for most of that time. The medical staff helped Hyunwoo to his feet. His legs were stiff from lying on the hard floor, but otherwise he felt good. Better than good, actually. He felt more rested and alert than he had since arriving at the academy. His mind was clear. His body did not ache with exhaustion. I do not understand, Hyunwoo said. I fell asleep during the trial? Does that mean I failed? Dr. Yoon floated forward, the ethereal psychologist's form shimmering. On the contrary, Cadet Kim, you have set a new academy record. The previous record was 4 hours and 17 minutes. You lasted 9 hours. Well, you slept for 9 hours, but the chamber was active the entire time. Hyunwoo's brain struggled to process this information, but I just slept. I did not resist anything. I did not use mental techniques or meditation. I just fell asleep. Yes, Velthar said. That is what makes this so interesting. They led him out of the chamber. The moment Hyunwoo stepped into the lobby, He was greeted by a roar of noise. Hundreds of cadets had gathered, and they erupted in cheers and shocked exclamations when they saw him. Aliens of every species imaginable crowded around, trying to get a look at the human who had defeated the torture chamber. Day pushed through the crowd and grabbed Hyunwoo in a hug. "You did it. 9 hours. Do you know how crazy that is?" "I still do not really understand what happened," Hyunwoo admitted. Jiwon appeared beside them, grinning widely. "You slept." "The entire academy is talking about it. The human who napped through the torture chamber." Shinai approached, her crystalline form reflecting the lobby lights in rainbow patterns. Up close, she was taller than Hyunwoo, and her alien features were both beautiful and intimidating. She had held the previous record for 2 years. "Congratulations, Cadet Kim," she said. Her voice had a musical quality like wind chimes. "I trained for 3 months before my attempt. I meditated 6 hours every day to prepare my mind, and you beat my record by falling asleep." Hyunwoo felt his face heat with embarrassment. "I am sorry. I did not mean to." "Do not apologize," Shinai interrupted. She was smiling, or doing whatever her species did that approximated a smile. "You did something none of us could do. You found a way to resist the chamber that no one had thought of. That is impressive, even if it was accidental." The crowd eventually cleared enough for medical staff to escort Hyunwoo to the medical wing for a post-trial evaluation. They ran extensive tests, checking his neural patterns, stress hormones, and psychological state. Everything came back normal. Better than normal, actually. "Your cortisol levels have decreased significantly," the medical technician reported. "Your neural activity shows improved function compared to your baseline at the academy. Cadet Kim, that sleep appears to have been exactly what your body needed." Over the next few hours, as word spread through the academy network, the truth began to emerge. Instructors compiled data on all human cadets. They analyzed sleep logs, performance metrics, and health records. The pattern was undeniable. In the commandant's office, Velthar presented his findings. "Sir, humans require 7 to 9 hours of sleep per 24-hour cycle. Our academy operates on a 32-hour cycle, with only 6 hours of rest period. This means human cadets are getting approximately 4 to 5 hours of sleep per day, calculated against their natural circadian rhythm. They have been operating at severe sleep deprivation for months." Commandant Reth examined the data on his displays. "Why did they not report this?" "They assumed they needed to adapt, sir. Other species manage with the schedule. Humans are physically weaker in many ways. They likely thought this was just another challenge they needed to overcome." Dr. Yoon added, "The torture chamber created an environment where Cadet Kim finally got uninterrupted rest. Dark isolated, no schedule to maintain. His body recognized the opportunity and took it. What we designed as psychological warfare, his exhausted mind interpreted as a perfect sleeping environment. And the torture elements, the temperature extremes, the psychological attacks? Humans evolved on Earth classified as a Class 7 death world," Dr. Yoon explained. Their normal environment included extreme weather, predators, diseases, and geological instability. Their psychology is adapted to constant threat. What the chamber considers torture is, to a sleep-deprived human, merely uncomfortable background noise." Commandant Reth was silent for a long moment. Then he made his decision. "Effective immediately, human cadets will receive adjusted schedules. They will have access to 9 hours of rest per standard day. We will also review our environmental standards to ensure they are appropriate for Death World species." "Yes, sir." "And Commander Velthar, make sure this incident is properly documented. Other military academies across the galaxy need to know about human sleep requirements. We cannot have every institution making the same mistake." The next morning, Hyunwoo woke in his dormitory feeling genuinely good for the first time in months. Day was already awake, reading something on his tablet. "Morning," Day said. "How does it feel to be famous?" "Famous?" Day turned his tablet around. It showed a news article from the Academy's Public Relations Office. The headline read, "Human Cadet Sets Unprecedented Record in Resistance Training." Hyunwoo groaned. "They published it?" "It gets better. Or worse, depending on your perspective." Day scrolled through more articles. "The story has gone to the Galactic Military Network. Human recruitment is up 300%. Every defense force wants to know if humans have secret resistance techniques. There are requests for you to demonstrate your method." "My method was being tired." "I know that. You know that. But half the galaxy thinks you have unlocked some ancient Earth meditation technique. Day grinned. The other half thinks humans are just naturally immune to psychological torture. Before Hyunwoo could respond, his tablet chimed with an official message. It was from the Academy administration. He opened it nervously. The message informed him that his schedule had been adjusted. He now had a 9-hour rest period instead of 6. All human cadets received the same adjustment. Additionally, the message included an apology from the Academy for not recognizing species-specific needs sooner. They changed our schedules, Hyunwoo said, showing Dae the message. I got the same one. Dae looked genuinely happy. 9 hours of sleep. Actual proper sleep. Do you know what this means? We might actually be able to function like normal people. Over the following days, life at the Academy shifted for the human cadets. With adequate sleep, their performance in training improved dramatically. Minho stopped falling off climbing walls. Ji-won's test scores increased. The entire group seemed more alert, more capable, more like they belonged at an elite military academy. Hyunwoo found himself approached by cadets from other species regularly. They wanted to know his secret. How did he resist the chamber? What mental techniques did he use? Could he teach them? He tried to explain that he just slept, but few believed it was that simple. Some thought he was being modest. Others thought it was a human military secret he was not allowed to share. Eventually, Hyunwoo gave up trying to explain and just accepted his accidental fame. 1 week after the trial, Hyunwoo was studying in the library when Shin-ai approached. She sat down across from him, her crystalline body chiming softly. I have been thinking about your trial, she said without preamble. Still, everyone else has moved on to other gossip. Not gossip, analysis. She pulled up a holographic display between them. I reviewed everything about human biology and Earth's environment. You are from a death world. Your species evolved under constant threat. Your normal life experience is more stressful than most species encounter in combat. I guess so. I never really thought about it that way. That is the key, Shin-ai continued. You did not think about it. You did not prepare or strategize. You simply existed as humans normally exist. And that was enough to exceed what the rest of us can achieve with months of training. Hyunwoo considered this. So you are saying humans are accidentally good at resistance training? I am saying humans are adapted to survive conditions that would break most other species. You do not need special training because your baseline is already exceptional. You just needed rest. She paused. It is humbling in a way. And impressive. 2 months later, the xenobiology exam that Hyunwoo had been so worried about felt like a distant memory. He had passed it easily, his well-rested mind able to retain and recall information properly. The Academy had published a full report on human physiology and environmental requirements. It was now required reading at military academies across the Galactic Defense Force. Hyunwoo sat in the cafeteria with Dae, Ji-won, and several alien cadets who had become friends. They were discussing the upcoming combat trials. Unlike the torture chamber, these were team-based exercises that required cooperation across species. I still cannot believe you slept, said Yuna, the Mindari cadet who had failed her first torture chamber attempt. She had passed on her second try, lasting 1 hour and 8 minutes.